Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
This is Frank Agin, founder and president of AmSpirit Business Connections, and I'm your host of the Networking RX podcast. Welcome back for another episode. Before we get started, remember we're looking to add quality people to our stable of franchisees. This is a unique franchise opportunity in that it's geared for aspiring entrepreneurs or professionals to add on to what they're already doing. Again, all of our franchisees do something else. For just a couple hours in the morning, a few days a week, our franchisees operate the AmSpirit Business Connections program. The rest of their week, they're accountants, attorneys, financial advisors, realtors, coaches, and consultants of various kinds. If you're interested, contact me. There's an email in the show notes, or use the one provided at the end of the podcast. Recently, someone sent me a link to a TEDx talk by Ryan Foland. The Foland is spelled F-O-L-A-N-D. Ryan's done a few TED Talks. He's also the co-founder of Influence Tree, which is an organization that helps people grow their influence. And he's the creator of the 3-1-3 method. That's 3-1-3 method. This particular TED Talk was on the 3-1-3 method, which is why the person sent me the link. What's the 3-1-3 method and why is it of interest? Well, one of the questions I get from time to time is how best to structure an elevator pitch or a 30-second commercial. You know that response you're supposed to provide when someone asks, what do you do? Yes, certainly elevator pitches come in all shapes and sizes, and there's lots of advice on them, and in time we'll cover more of it, much of it. Now, for some of you, elevator pitches are pretty straightforward. You ask a real estate agent what they do, and you get, I help people buy and sell houses. Okay, I get it. Pretty simple. But if you're someone with something less mainstream, like a coach or a consultant, or someone who offers a mainstream product, and it's really kind of unique or specialized, an elevator pitch can be somewhat problematic. That's what Ryan Foland found. And I encourage you to take the time to view his TEDx talk on this topic. He'll go into a whole lot more detail. At any rate, Foland found himself at networking functions asking people what they did and then getting a nonsensical earful. People would go on and try to explain what they did, and he found responses to be confusing. I'm sure we can all relate. We've all been on the receiving end of the elevator pitch where we come away knowing no more about what the person does than before they started talking. You know, in all honesty, that's how I felt from time to time when I'm answering the question, what do you do? Generally, I say something like, we help entrepreneurs, sales reps, and professionals become more successful by engaging them in a weekly structured networking meeting where they develop relationships with similarly situated, non-competing businesses for the purpose of exchanging high-quality referrals. That's quite a mouthful, and probably a bigger earful. I wonder to myself, as I'm saying it, when I'm talking to people, is this making sense? Are they listening? If so, what are they hearing? Whatever the case, I sense that it can't be good, because when I'm done, there are generally no questions. There's no ongoing dialogue. I just kind of get that look that faintly says, well, I'm glad you're done with that. At any rate, from Foland's frustration and being on the receiving ends of these sort of elevator pitches and wanting to help people to communicate better and have more influence, he created the 3-1-3 method. And it's really kind of clever. More or less, this is an exercise that you can work through ahead of time in preparation for being at the event or place where someone's going to ask, what do you do? Here are the 3 steps to the 3-1-3 method. First, Foland challenges participants of his workshops to answer 3 questions. 1, what's the problem you're solving? 2, what's the solution you're offering? 3, what's the market you're addressing? Second, you take those answers, the answers to those three questions, and break them down into one sentence. Not one long run-on sentence that encompasses all those words, but a single sentence that encapsulates all three of those answers. Third, you take that one sentence, the one sentence that encapsulates the answers to the three questions, and you simplify it into 3 words. You answer 3 questions, create one sentence from those questions, and summarize that one sentence into 3 words. The gist of Foland's 313 method is that the more you talk, the less people listen. So conversely, the less you talk, the more people are going to ask questions. Does this work? I don't have any empirical evidence, but in working through it and trying it out, I get the sense that it entices conversation, which is what you want when you're at an event and somebody's asking what you do. So let me quickly work through some examples with you, first using AmSpirit Business Connections as an example, and then some other examples that I got in doing this exercise with people within AmSpirit Business Connections. Okay, what do? Question I would get, and again, I'll repeat what I said before. We help entrepreneurs, sales reps, and professionals become more successful by engaging them in a weekly structured meeting where they develop relationships with similarly situated, non-competing business types for the purpose of exchanging high-quality referrals. Again, it's a mouthful, it's an earful. Now, if I can break that what do you do statement down into 3 sentences that answer the 3 questions. The first question, what's the problem you're solving? The problem we're solving is it's hard to find a reliable means of identifying and connecting with prospective customers and clients. Second question, what's the solution we're offering? A weekly structured networking meeting that focuses on generating quality referrals. Third question, what's the market we're addressing? We're addressing aspiring sales representatives, entrepreneurs, and professionals. Now, breaking those 3 answers down into one sentence, I come up with, we help small businesses obtain a reliable flow of quality referrals. Now, I take that and further break it down into 3 words, reliable business referrals, or I generally end up saying we create reliable business referrals. Okay, it's not perfect, I cheated, it's actually 5 words, and I'm not totally comfortable with it, but it's not a run-on sentence, and when I use it, it generally creates curiosity. You create reliable business referrals, how? From there, I can leak a little more information and wait to field the next question and then the next question. But the whole time, I have the sense that they're engaged in what I'm saying. That's my example. Here are 3 more, which I obtained in doing the 313 exercise at a monthly training activity for AmSpirit Business Connections. The first example comes from Leah Rospandowski with the Learning RX. No relation to Networking RX, but at any rate, when I asked Leah what she did, what she actually gave to me, I had to write this out. We do cognitive skills development with one-on-one brain training. We strengthen the 7 cognitive skills: attention, working memory, processing speed, long-term memory, logic and reasoning, visual processing, and auditory processing. Each of our clients begins with an assessment to identify cognitive strengths and weaknesses so we can customize a program for our best results. We then target those weaknesses by pairing the person, our clients, with personal brain training to work on intense mental exercises. Again, quite a mouthful, and I'm not sure exactly when you lose somebody, but I had to do that, and then I had to come back and answer the 3 questions. What's the problem you're solving? We help individuals with weak cognitive skills. What's the solution you're offering? One-on-one brain training. What's the market you're addressing? Individuals from age 5 to senior citizens. So then she broke that down into a sentence. And that sentence was, help individuals become more confident, think faster, and increase memory with one-on-one brain training. And then I had to run through and take that one sentence and break it down into 3 words. And she didn't get to cheat. Cognitive skills development. So somebody asks, what do you do? She can say, I do cognitive skills development, rather than going into that long run-on sentence. And when she says, I do cognitive skills development, that's going to pique curiosity. They're going to start to ask questions, and then she's going to be able to leak out additional information that will prompt other questions. In time, she's going to get everything that she has to say out, but she's not going to lose somebody on that initial push to tell everything. And that's the gist of the 3-1-3 method. The less you talk, the more people are going to ask questions. So let's move on to another example. This person is a gentleman by the name of Dean Curry. He's actually a franchisee in AmSpirit. This is what, in working through the exercise, this is what Dean gave me. He works for Curry & Associates. Curry & Associates is a payment processing company that assists small to medium-sized businesses understand the myriad of payment options available. We help businesses accelerate their cash flow. So essentially, that was his just initial statement as to if somebody were to ask what I do. And then we followed up in the exercise and asked him to answer the 3 questions. Number 1, what's the problem you're solving? Credit card rates and fees are confusing. Some change, some don't. It's a mess. What's the solution you're offering? Clear, concise explanation and statements supporting what those fees are. Who's the market? Small to medium-sized businesses. Then I asked Dean to take the 3 answers to those 3 questions and create one sentence. And the sentence he came up with is, we work with small businesses providing pertinent information to help them understand their payment processing options and pertinent information they need to understand their payment solutions. From there, he needed to take that one sentence, again, 3-1-3, answer three questions, take those 3 questions, create one sentence, and then take that one sentence and encapsulate it down into 3 words. Those 3 words were simplify payment solutions. Again, big run-on sentence, big statement that nobody wants to listen to or will listen to, condensed down into 3 words that's going to engage people in conversation. Again, under the 3-1-3 method, the less you talk, the more people are going to ask questions. Okay, let's move on to our last example. This is Kevin Clark. Kevin Clark is a financial planner. And the reason I wanted to use Kevin's is because financial planning is one of those typically mainstream type professions that people generally understand, but he's somebody who is relatively unique in what he does. So when asking Kevin what it is he did, this was the statement that he provided. I help married couples with a comprehensive planning program that helps them get financially established, understand the impact debt has on their lives, and to help them chart a course to prepare for saving for both college education for their children and retirement for themselves. Again, quite a mouthful, and that's fine. It's a specialized type thing, but it's quite a mouthful, and if somebody's asking what he does, I don't know how much of that they hang on to. Nevertheless, working through the 3-1-3 program, 3-1-3 method that Ryan Foland has created, Kevin needs to answer the questions. What's the problem you're solving? Finances are the number 2 leading cause of divorce in the United States. Didn't know infidelity is number 1, but that's the problem he's solving, that finances are the number 2 reasons people get divorced in the United States. So what's the solution he's offering? He encourages more open communication and joint decision making about money. And then what's his market? Couples who are recently engaged or recently married, early in that process. So took those three answers to those 3 questions and came up with a 1-sentence summary. I help couples get their marriage started on the right foot. And then he broke that down into 3 simple words: reduce divorce rates. Again, through the 3-1-3 method, he's talking less and people are going to ask more questions. When he says reducing divorce rates, people are going to be intrigued to say, okay, how do you do that? And that's going to allow him to not necessarily go into the big run-on sentence that he had in the beginning, but leak a little more information and kind of work back through what he was talking about. Again, the less you talk, the more people ask questions. Again, for each of these examples, as well as the AmSpirit example I provided, they followed the 3-1-3 method. They answered 3 questions. What's the problem you're solving? What's the solution you're offering? What's the market you're addressing? And then from those 3 answers, they created 1 sentence. And then finally summarized that 1 sentence in 3 words. Is Ryan Foland's 313 method for everyone? No, probably not. For many, a more traditional elevator pitch is just fine. For some, however, like coaches and consultants, and again, professionals with unique offerings, this is something to consider. Again, I encourage you to watch Ryan Foland's TED Talk and think about what he has to say in terms of what you're currently doing when somebody asks you, what do you do? And the results you're getting from the statements that you're providing. To sum it all up, the more you talk, the less people are listening. But through the 313 method, the less you talk, the more people are going to ask you questions.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connections. All rights reserved.